Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get the updates. Super excited for today's video. The beer is courtesy of Chris. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. I'm in the middle of a theme week where I am reviewing beers that have 3 or more adjuncts in them. Of the beers I'm doing this week, this beer has the most adjuncts I've ever had. Or, well, the most of this week and the most I think I've ever had. Unless I'm forgetting, there's never been a beer I've consumed that had more adjuncts in it. So that's why there's a printed piece of paper, because I have to have this to be able to tell you everything that's in it. So Chris sent me a bunch of different stuff, several beers from Hightower, some fruited beers, and then 2 of these imperial stouts that were aged in barrels. So the first one I had was this one called Don't Look Under the Bed, and it's over here because I'm starting to put bottles in cans that I think are contenders for best beer of 2021. So that clearly tells you how good I thought this beer was. The barrel aging on point and enough vanilla. I'm kind of, if you don't know about me, I'm kind of the vanilla police. There seems to never be enough vanilla in beers for me, and that one actually had enough vanilla. So I'm going into this beer very excited. So this one's called Bedtime Story Chapter 7. And according to this, all the beers, it's a blend of different beers, all of them are 14%, so plus or minus 14 probably realistically. So this is chapter 7. This is a blend of chapters 3, 4, and 6. So they blended 3, 4, and 6. Then they added candy canes, Jack Frost coffee, which also, so besides having coffee, has candy canes, so a second time, chocolate and Irish cream, and then there's also Madagascar vanilla beans. So all that stuff, so it's a blend of the other 3 conditioned on all of those things, okay? So from that section, if you're counting candy canes once, that's 5 different adjuncts. If you're counting them separate, because one is whole candy canes and one is candy canes and coffee, whatever that means, then there'll be 5 adjuncts. Okay, then you mix it, right? Or then let me get into chapter 3, 4, and 6. Chapter 3, and they're all stouts again, okay? They're all imperial stouts. Aged 6 months in Jim Beam barrels, so you have the barrel aging, Kona coffee, cacao nibs, and Madagascar vanilla beans again. So if we're double dipping the vanilla beans, specifically Madagascar vanilla beans, since they're added at different times in different beers, technically, I'm going to count them separate. So that's 4 more adjuncts. Chapter 4 was aged in Jamaican rum barrels, conditioned on coconut candy, coconut flakes, toasted coconut, Peruvian cacao nibs, and this time Tahitian vanilla beans. So 6 adjuncts in that part of the blend. And last, chapter 6, aged in Heaven Hill barrels that also had Vermont maple syrup conditioned in them, aged in them, then conditioned on even more maple syrup. So I'm going to say those are 2 different things because of how the maple syrup is in 2 different ways. Vanilla, doesn't say specifically what kind of vanilla, and then maple candy, so 5 adjuncts there. So by my math, that is 21 adjuncts in this beer. You got the core 4, and then 21 other things added to this. I can't think of a beer that I've had that had more than that many adjuncts. If you've had a beer in around 21, a beer that had 21 adjuncts around, or a beer that blew this out of the water in terms of how many adjuncts, let me know, because I'm obviously super curious, because it seems pretty hard to do. 21 adjuncts in a beer. Anyway, if I forgot to say this, I'm doing this one today because it's Tuesday. I'm trying to test my palate, and this one has a lot of stuff to try to pick up on, so it seemed like an appropriate beer to do. But yeah, let's get into it. There was so much exposition to get out. I hope I didn't repeat myself too much or forget anything that was important or seemed too long-winded. I just want to make sure people knew what was in this beer. So it's pouring pretty dark. There is some brown on the outside. It's beyond what I would say dark cola colors, but it's not. It's pretty close to pitch black motor oil, but there is a little bit of brown in there. In my opinion, worth mentioning, just to kind of give you point of reference. I'm not surprised there's not much of a head. What was there's gone down quickly. There's still a ring where the glass is, but the center is almost, 80% see-through at this point. what is there and what was there. Is a mocha, maybe dark mocha color. But yeah, with this many adjuncts of barrel aging being a blend, I'm not surprised that there wasn't a lot of head on this. Let's get into the aroma. Oh my god, that's so stupid. Ugh. Mint brownies for sure. Here's one of the things I meant to say is I'm gonna assume either this beer is gonna be, despite how much I love the other one, that was a little bit more subdued, right? Like with ambition, um, that this beer could be like a straight mess, right? Like you put all this stuff together, all these adjuncts, all these different vintages, it could be a real mess of a beer, right? I'm gonna assume it's gonna either do that or it's gonna blow my mind. Based on the aroma, it's more the blowing my mind part of the the spectrum. That first one, that first sniff, it's one of the reasons I started kind of laughing. That first sniff was very much coffee and vanilla. And then like this kiss of mint. When I went in the second time, it was, I don't know if I've ever had this, but it makes me think of like someone made brownies around Christmas time, crushed up some candy canes and maybe sprinkled them on top at the end of the bake or towards the end of the bake. And that, so that mintiness was incorporated with, you know, the chocolatiness. It's been a while since I've had any beer with mint in it, but specifically a stout with mint. I have had that. I've had beers that worked very well and beers that have not worked very well. I can't remember what beer it was, but I think I reviewed one. It did not work well for me. I want to say Brad Allison maybe sent him Bells or Shorts. I think it was Shorts. Anyway, this is a beer review, not me trying to remember beer videos. So it's kind of cool. Like I've only smelled it twice, and I got some overlap, but then also like very uniquely different things. And I think if I go in this third time, I'm going to get some of the same stuff, but also new stuff. Some of that rum's fighting through. There is that vanilla sweetness mixing with the mint. The mint is cutting in, I think, a little bit to the bourbon specific in this. I think that if this didn't have the mint, the candy cane element, that vanilla sweetness would be more obvious tied to the bourbon, plus the vanilla and stuff that are actually in here. But that mint's kind of cutting it off, which is, I don't know, which is super interesting. But through that all, I do get a specifically Jamaican thing, or a Jamaican rum thing. Rum and chocolate can go together very well. Like I had, someone made rum balls before Christmas, and like chocolate with the rum. I mean, it's delicious. So like it's totally working in this stout. I don't have a lot of rum barrel aged stouts, but like, it makes sense, and it can work really well. And at least in terms of the aroma, so far this is working. Yeah, it's just decadent, desserty. It's like 5 different chocolate-based desserts, and even like chocolate glazed donuts. I get almost, not that I get the cream part, but it makes me think of like a Boston cream donut, because it's got the sweet confectionery thing that donut would have, and then that chocolate frosting on top. So like even something like that, but then like I was saying, like it is very much vanilla forward, so there's maybe some sort of like vanilla chocolate ice cream or whatever. Like it's very, and then that mint comes through, like I was saying with the brownies. So it does have like just, but yeah, it works. It's almost, okay. It's almost like you walked into a bakery and they happen to be baking like 5 different kinds of things at one time. So like it smells amazing, but you might be like, wait, that's cinnamon and apple. Oh, that's probably apple pie. But then they're also making bear claws, so that kind of makes sense. But then what's this? Lemon, like lemon meringue, maybe. Like, yeah, it's all good. It's and maybe you feel overwhelmed or not. I don't know. I'm talking all this and I haven't even tried it yet. Like this is a trip, man. Like this is, Chris, seriously, thank you so much, because this is a trip. Let's see about the taste. Cheers. It's not a mess. and it's got a lot of what I was hoping I would get in this beer. I'm just still wrapping my mind around the level of mint. And that was another thought I had. You know, like being a fresher ingredient and how well, in two ways I mean that. Mint is a very fresh kind of a thing, right? An experience. But also in terms of the age of this beer, it's a fresh ingredient. It's a new ingredient given everything else that's going on, right? So you get that chocolate, you get dark chocolate. I was watching something or reading a recipe. I think I was watching it. Someone make something earlier today. And actually it was brownies. Apparently I have brownies on the mind. And they put in a little bit of espresso powder, and they were talking about how that, you don't really get the coffee too much in that. It just kind of oomphs the chocolate note in the brownies. And you can kind of see how this does have coffee, but like how that coffee is really just making that chocolate fuller, more decadent. You get the vanilla. So you're specifically getting vanilla, but then the vanilla, the sweetness, and the dark chocolate can make you think milk chocolate, plus the dark chocolate's independent. You do get some liquor. For me, I'll have to go back in to see if I can decipher if it's rum and or whiskey. But you definitely get that mint. It's not like you just brushed your teeth and are drinking a stout, so that's good, because that would probably kill this beer for me. I just don't know if it's almost like I could see mint as between two courses you might have something minty, or like I think of like a lemon sorbet or something, but like a palate cleanser. So it's kind of like a palate cleanser during the beer. So it kind of almost distracts me for a moment, then like I go back into the beer. So I'm not sure cohesive wise if I'm there with the beer yet. Flavors, I went off on the aromas, right? The flavors, I am loving the flavors. I gotta maybe wrap my mind around this mint in it. So I'm gonna do another sip. Something I didn't get in the aroma that I do get a little bit in the taste, there's a nice dark fruit cherry, not sour cherry like confection. About halfway through, like just pops up real nice. Almost like a grapey thing that lingers and is still here. It's like a grapey, prune, chocolate. There's still some of that mint, but it's funny. I kind of wish I did this not knowing it was candy canes, because like it really does invoke candy canes, like that kind of mintiness and sweetness. So I think that would be a fun thing to do blind, to be like, oh yeah, it's mint, but like, does the person go to candy canes specifically? I am being able to wrap my mind around it a little bit better. I will say this. I think if there was no candy cane mintiness in this, that this beer would be a step up from where it is. I have a very high opinion of this beer. It's just the only knock I can think of, because like the flavors, you had so much crazy stuff, so many things that could go wrong and didn't. There's just this one flavor that's just a little too bright, a little too fresh. Again, double meaning. It's a little bit distracting at times in the sip from the stuff that's just all good, So like, I'm not trying to come across too harsh on this because I'm loving it. But like, there is just this one thing that's not that this beer would be perfect without the mint, but like, where I'd be more inclined to be like, this is just the perfect cold weather barrel-aged stout with a bunch of adjuncts. Like that, this is about as close as you can get if it didn't have that candy cane. But it's also not detracting too much. It's adding another kind of cool, unique thing. But I think I would like it better if it didn't have the candy canes. But well done to Hightower, because blending that many beers together with that many variables, plus adding new things that condition it on, just well done. Thanks again, Chris. I really appreciate it, man. Check me out on Instagram and Untapped. No hype beer reviews at both of those places. So please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.